and nice to have you on the Morning Scramble right here in northern Arizona this Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for being our audience. I have a treat for you today. You know, we as humans, we are mammals, and sometimes we feel like we are the only species that really communicate. But I have someone here who thinks differently. Nancy Windheart, nice to have you on, Nancy.
Thanks for having me, Sandy.
You are an internationally respected animal communicator. You talk to the animals.
I do. And I talk to the animals through something that's actually very, very simple, and it's a universal language, and it's telepathic communication. And this is a language that all of us share, not just the animals, but humans too. And we can learn to communicate with the animals.
Well, I know sometimes I will start thinking of my mother, and the phone rings, and it's my mom. And trust me, we don't talk that much. Mm-hmm. Or you just get a feeling about things. Or, well, my husband and I have been married not a long time, but honestly, it's ridiculous. I'll start thinking about something completely unrelated about what we're talking to, and he will immediately, you know, say, oh, what about such and such? Like, I was just thinking of that. Yeah. Is that kind of what you mean?
It's exactly what I mean. That's telepathic communication, and we all do it, and we just don't recognize it as humans because we also have our spoken and written language. But for the animals, it's their natural way of communicating. It's their primary language, and it's a universal language. And so, as humans, we can relearn how to speak that language, and that's the place where we can communicate freely with the animals.
Amazing. And why do you talk with the animals?
Well, because I love them. That's the main reason. I've loved animals all of my life, from the time I was a little kid, and communicated easily with them as a child, as many, many children do. And so animals have always been my life, my passion, my biggest love. And so this is something that came very easily and naturally to me because it's from my heart.
When did you first find out that, let's say, other people weren't as sensitive or couldn't do what you did, Nancy?
Probably sometime in my childhood, you know, elementary school sometime. And you know, then I became aware that, it wasn't something that was as natural and easy for everybody.
Yeah. I remember, okay, this is crazy, but a Twilight Zone. And
I love that show.
This family, unfortunately, the parents were killed and the two children had to go live with this other family. And the family had communicated telepathically with each other, and then they go to live with the aunt and uncle who talk. And it was just like, it's so noisy, you know. But it was so interesting to think, even way back, because I, you know, was just a little kid, you know, when I was watching that, and I thought, what an interesting concept that you can talk with your mind. So when you talk with the animals, what kinds of things do they tell you?
Well, it can come through in many different forms. So it's not always going to be words. Sometimes it will come as words or language, but more often it will come as pictures, images, feelings, things through their senses. I'll get what they're feeling in their body, what they're hearing, smelling, tasting, how their body feels, how they move, how they feel emotionally. And those will just come as feelings, or through the senses. So.
And you've learned to rely on those.
I have. I've learned to trust it.
And probably verification. You probably had some verifications, a lot of verifications of this.
Yeah, a lot. And that's really, you know, when I work with my students, I always tell them that's really what you need to build your confidence. You need to have those times where you can get it confirmed, you know, and have people say, yeah, that's exactly what he did, or that's exactly what happened. And so over time, that builds people's confidence that really they're not just making it up, that they are hearing accurately.
What do you say to naysayers? I'm sure there's people who go, oh, that is ridiculous.
That's fine with me. You know, people are going to think what they want to think and feel what they want to feel, and I'm not here to prove anything. But, you know, what I always ask people to come back to is, are there results? Does something change? You know, if I communicate with the animal about a behavior problem and the behavior problem resolves, well, something's happened. Something's happened, you know. And so there are those kinds of verifiable things where situations change or relationships improve. And to me, that is as close to proof as we're going to get.
Right. Are there animals that you can't talk to? Any kinds of animals or situations of animals?
No, I've not encountered that ever. And I've communicated with lots of different species, from insects to great apes to, horses, dogs, cats, the, usual kinds of companion animals.
Do they talk differently?
They do.
They have different voices?
Yeah, and each individual will communicate differently. So just like with us, all animals are individuals. And so everyone has their own personality, their own voice. Some are very, very talkative and fluent. Some will communicate very simply, very straightforwardly. What, an insect, for example, a bumblebee, will communicate about may be very different than what a horse communicates about. But the process is the same.
How fascinating.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned the big apes and things, and we feel like they are so close to our species.
Yeah.
Do they communicate more clearly or more human-like?
Not necessarily. There are many of them who have been trained and very fluent in using human language, so that's kind of a separate thing.
Sure.
But the telepathic communication really it's the same from species to species. But of course, we all have our individual lives, and what's important to us will differ.
Sure. Well, we were talking with Nancy Windheart, internationally respected animal communicator. We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to find out just what do those animals say to her.